Do you want to turn your woman into a human fire hose? Well, gentlemen, get ready because in today's video, I'm going to teach you Squirting 101. That's right, you're going to learn the secrets to making any woman squirt under your command. Let's go. My name is Stirling Cooper, award-winning adult film star, former high-class male companion. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So I get asked a lot about squirting, and I most commonly get asked if squirting is something that every woman can do. I get asked this by both guys and girls. Now, every woman has the necessary plumbing to be a squirter. Has every woman squirted? Well, no, they haven't. That's because either they don't know how to, or the man they're with doesn't know how to make them squirt. Now, some women are what we would call natural squirters. So they just squirt during intercourse, while they're being penetrated, while they're orgasming. It's a very natural thing for them. Other women have to be taught how to squirt, and other women have to be made to squirt by you, my good man. So that's kind of what we're going to cover in today's video specifically, because if a woman's a natural squirter, well, you don't really have any control over that. And if she wants to learn how to make herself squirt, well, she's going to have to be very flexible with her hands and know really how to and where to hit certain positions within her vagina. But more practically, if you can make a woman squirt, then you can make any woman squirt, because it's the same technique no matter who the woman is, because like I said, they all have the exact same plumbing, the necessary plumbing. So a quick tangent I need to add in here is when people think of squirting, they think it's what they see in a porno. I'm going to shatter a few realities here, but basically whenever you see a porn scene which has the word squirting in the title, like Squirting Teens 47 or something like that, right? Or if it's a clip on a website and it's squirting is in the title somewhere. Typically, this is a scripted squirting scene, and what that means is it's not real squirting. What that means is the young lady drank several liters of water prior to shooting the scene so that when she pees, it looks clear. And what you're seeing in the porno is really just a woman peeing. Whenever you see that sort of super explosive waterfall fire hydrant kind of squirting, tip in a porno, and especially if the porno says the word squirting in the title, that's just her peeing. I'm sorry to break the news to you guys. What real squirting tends to look like, it can get kind of explosive like that. It can get quite splishy and splashy, but for the most part, squirting isn't this sort of super explosive thing for most women, especially if they're not natural squirters. Sure, natural squirters can do that, but when they're during the act of intercourse, but they're natural squirters. That's not who we're really talking about. That's not what this video is for. For women who you're introducing squirting to, or you're making squirt for the first time, it's not going to be that explosive. It's going to be more subtle. Very often, it's just going to be a bit sloppier, a bit wetter down there, in the groinal region, and it's not going to be super explosive. It's going to be like little splashy. It's not going to be huge and explosive. So it's important for you to get a realistic understanding of what to expect, because you might actually have made a girl squirt in the past, or you might do the techniques in this video and make a girl squirt, and you might be thinking, oh, but she doesn't look like what I've seen in pornos. Well, that's because pornos, surprise, surprise, are not real. So the first thing to understand about squirting, and about, like I said, the fact that every woman has the correct plumbing to squirt, first thing you're going to learn about is the Skene's gland. So what exactly is the Skene's gland? Well, the Skene's gland is a gland that is located around the lower end of the urethra. So these are surrounded by tissue that swells with blood during sexual arousal, and they secrete fluid from openings near the urethra, particularly during orgasm. So they're basically analogous to the male prostate. The Skene's gland is referred to very often as the female prostate. It's the female version. And it actually secretes a certain fluid. Now, that fluid is actually rather analogous to seminal fluid minus the semen. So typically the Skene gland is producing this sort of plasma-like fluid that's very, very similar to what guys produce during ejaculation, except it doesn't have any sperm in it. So that's what the Skene gland is producing when we're causing a woman to have a squirting orgasm. And squirting is actually a different type of orgasm. A lot of women will have a squirting, the women who we call natural squirters will squirt during their vaginal orgasms, but if a woman is not a natural squirter and you make her squirt, that's basically a new type of orgasm for her that you're introducing to her. You're teaching her things about her own body that she didn't even know. So, hooray for you. Now, the hardest part about making a woman squirt is not actually the physicality of it. It's actually the mental side of things, because a lot of women have come close to squirting, or they might even be aware they came close to squirting. They actually think or they feel like they're going to pee themselves. It's because it comes from a similar place, it's a very similar feeling and sensation. So, a large part of getting a woman comfortable squirting is getting her comfortable with releasing in front of you. They think they're going to pee themselves, basically. So you have to reassure them that they're not going to be peeing themselves. So there's a couple of ways to get around this, which is good for introducing this to new women, to women who are new to squirting and beginners. One of the ways I recommend is start practicing it in the shower. Because when you do this in the shower, it doesn't really matter. Like, okay, if she pees herself, how are you going to know, right? There's water running everywhere, right? So she can kind of feel more comfortable experimenting with these feelings and getting used to these feelings that you're going to be inducing in her physically in the shower, where she's not self-conscious that she's peeing in front of you, right? The second place you can introduce this in the bedroom is by just laying a towel down, or maybe several towels down, depending upon how explosive she ends up getting. But laying a towel down and putting her on it, and then starting these techniques, is another way of making sure she feels comfortable doing that. She's not going to ruin the bed sheets again. Sometimes they get self-conscious about this, they get self-conscious about ruining the bed sheets, they get self-conscious that they're going to pee themselves in front of you. So it's also kind of important, if you notice that, and normally I would actually very deliberately tell you not to even mention what you're trying to do, but in this circumstance, if you try this for the first time and you don't really get anywhere, if you notice that she's sort of holding back and not releasing and not comfortable enough releasing around you, releasing her squirt that is, you should mention to her that this is perfectly normal, perfectly natural, that she's not going to be peeing herself. And again, laying the towel down in this circumstance kind of reiterates that. It's like, okay, this is what we're here to do, it's fine, you're not going to embarrass yourself, you're not going to pee yourself, so let's just have some fun with it and enjoy yourself. And it's okay for you to let go, is kind of what you need to reiterate in her. That's what her conscious mind needs to accept, that it's okay for her to release and it's okay for her to let go. She needs to feel comfortable and relaxed enough to do that. Now, like I said before, normally I wouldn't sort of preempt this with any kind of talk or chit-chat, because, you know, with most things relating to the female orgasm, you don't want to put any pressure on her, right? With squirting, it is kind of something that you can almost physically force out of a woman, but she has to be comfortable to release. So this is the one kind of circumstance where it's okay for you to sort of preempt that. Now, a lot of guys sort of make a big deal out of it, that they can make a girl squirt. I don't. I think it's a pretty normal thing, and I actually think coming at it from like a nonchalant kind of perspective makes you look like more of a badass, in my opinion. If it's like, oh yeah, whatever, I can do that. Doesn't every guy do that too? You know, it's sort of underplaying it a bit. I think that's a bit more subtle, right? So flex is a bit more subtle when you do pull it off. But yeah, I remember this guy back when I was in the swinging scene in my 20s, who used to sort of make a big hoo-ha about that he could make a girl squirt, like it was his special secret superpower. Meanwhile, I was doing it to every other girl I was, you know, hanging out with at the same time, you know. And so it's like, you can take the angle of like, yeah, I'm special and I can introduce this thing to you and it's a new experience, or you can sort of underplay it and play it off like it's no big deal. So take your pick with that. Now, like I mentioned before, this is actually something you can kind of physically force out of a woman, and that is a technique in and of itself. So personally, I kind of like to surprise them with it. I like to physically overwhelm them and smash it out quickly and unexpectedly. So that way her conscious mind doesn't even have a chance to come in and interrupt and make her uncomfortable. Her conscious mind doesn't even have a chance to, you know, cause that, that self-conscious feeling of like, oh my God, am I going to pee myself? It happens too quickly. It's all over and done with too fast for her to even consciously sort of process what's happening. And you've just sprung it on her because you know what the fuck you're doing, like me. Luckily, you have a teacher like me. And bang, she just squirted. And she's like, oh my God, she's sitting there in a puddle of her own juices and is like, what the hell just happened? So there's 4 steps to making a woman squirt, and we're going to go over them right now. So what are these 4 steps? Step 1, the rock and roll hand position. Okay, so you can notice what my hands are doing right here. I'm sort of getting out of the way, just making sure you can see that. Cool. The rock and roll hand position. That's the hand position. Step 2, where do you place it? Okay, pretending this is a vagina. Rock and roll hand position. We're going to go in to the vagina like so. Okay, so the 2 bull's horns on the outside of the vagina and the 2 fingers in the middle are pressing up and into the G spot. Okay, pressing up and into the G spot like that. The G spot, for those who aren't familiar with it, that spongy, wrinkly mound on the frontal vaginal wall. It's about maybe an inch into the vagina on the frontal wall there. Right? I like to say it's like a knuckle and a half deep once you get your fingers in there. So step 1, rock and roll. Step 2, pressing the middle fingers up against the G spot there and having your other fingers on the outside for sort of anchoring your hand in that position. Okay? Step 3, something I like to do personally, is place my spare hand. So I've got this hand in here, in the vagina. I like to place my spare hand on her pubic mound. So basically, just here, and apply pressure down. So I'm pressing down on this hand, with this hand, and you'll notice in the 4th step, what I'm going to be doing with the right hand is I'm going to be pulling up. So we're applying pressure with both of our hands. The left hand is actually helping make the pressure that I'm applying on my right hand even more intense. And by applying pressure this way, we're going to force her to squirt. So step 4 is what I like to describe as starting the lawnmower. So if you ever had one of these sort of pull start lawnmowers as a kid when you had to mow the lawn on a Sunday, that's what we had to do. It's basically just this intense pulling motion, right? Like this. So the analogy I use is you're kind of like starting a lawnmower. So step 1, rock and roll hand. Step 2, you're in on the G spot there. Step 3, this hand is pushing down on her pubic mound area, right? Pushing down against the fingers that you can feel on the inside there. And step 4 is starting a lawnmower. So what you're doing is you're just doing this intense up motion like this, but it's not the speed I'm just showing you now. It's much, much faster and much more intense. It's something like this, really like you really got to get it in there. It's kind of hard to show you even when I haven't got anything resisting me, right? But it's very, very intense and very, very fast. Okay, and that's like I said before, it's kind of an overwhelming physical sensation. So her brain doesn't even have time to psych herself out, and it's just poof, it's over within like a minute. So this takes forearm strength. I'm not going to lie. This takes a lot of intense forearm strength. So you might not be able to pull it off the first time you try it. You might have to just try it again and again and again with a partner purely to build up your forearm strength doing the damn thing before you can eventually do it on any woman you encounter. Another way of building up that forearm strength is hitting the gym, guys. So the lawnmower, I really can't emphasize enough like how fast and hard you must be doing this lawnmower kind of motion on her G-spot. And again, having the other hand there pressing down on the pubic mound really helps to double up the impact that you're applying by pressing on the G-spot with that finger. So it's not a pulling motion, it's a up, 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 up into that G-spot with these 2 middle fingers in that rock and roll position. Now, as I mentioned before, a large part of getting a woman to climax like this is stopping her from having any of these sort of mental roadblocks. So if you want to learn some of the other mental roadblocks you should help women avoid so that they can climax much, much easier, then check out this video right here.